Now we're skipping the intro today because with Drake's new song, What Did I Miss?
It's the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever heard.
And now I am serious about this, so if you are a Drake fan who is trying to annoy me about how you delusionally think that the guy is back after what we have just seen from him, get away now, because in all honesty, this song is a disaster class on how to rap, release music, and just present yourself as a person who is trying to command respect on any level. Because now with 3 minutes and 14 seconds that Drake has just given us of new material, we are seeing with this song more than almost any other piece of music in the entirety of hip-hop history. I would really go that far. Well, compared to what Drake is now telling us here and what he is doing compared to what he was trying to convince us of last year. Well, words mean absolutely nothing now, and it has all resulted to this point where Drake feels comfortable enough to try and make his own Crash Out a hit song, which is just more humiliating than anything you have ever heard from him. And now before we go any further into how much of a disaster this song for Drake is really going to end up being and how much he just embarrassed his entire name, well, you're ready to see the ultimate breaking point of insanity for the guy who pretends to study rap battles for a living. Leave a like and subscribe so everyone can see how bad this record is, and so no matter how many Drake fans get mad at hip-hop and me for pushing back on this straight garbage that he is trying to get off, well, no matter what they think, everybody else knows how bad he is messed up. And now with that said, well, right now, when it comes to Drake and the audible piece of trash that he has given to us, I'm afraid that we need to have a serious conversation about the state of Drake, because this song isn't just bad or mid and forgettable or anything like that, but its problems are so much bigger, because with what Drake has given us and what he is showing here, well, what we are seeing over everything else, first off, is that from all the claims like Lil Yachty telling us that Drake was unfazed after the beef happened, to Drake literally making an entire album where he tried to drive home the point that he was saying that he didn't care about the rap beefs and he was just trying to get the party lit. Well, with this, what we are seeing is that Drake is either dumb, he does not respect the audience, or he is just losing memory at a very scary rate. Because seriously, with Drake to do every single thing that he did, and even just the general premise of him almost releasing 50 songs before this track was released, and now acting like for some reason this song is the real return after the beef, although again, Drake has almost dropped like 2 albums worth of material since this beef has ended. Well, truly, I don't even know how to make sense of everything that we are seeing and how people are even acting like this is anywhere near respectable or exciting. But now with this said, the one thing that we can actually give Drake when we look at where he is at now and what he just did is that Drake was always fazed by all of the beef and everything that happened, and still is, because with the Crash Out confession that we are really seeing throughout this entire track, well, this song, not just from a music but a topical standpoint, is a sheer and utter disaster, as with what Drake is rapping about here and trying to use to define this upcoming era of his career, well, it's not just showing what's wrong with him, his corner of hip-hop, or just the entire genre as a whole. But really, I'd go as far to say that with this lack of accountability and overall just delusion that is trying to be pushed as a norm, it's showing what's wrong with the entirety of society, because with the message that Drake is trying to so seriously send to everybody here and just say is okay, we have gotten to the point where we are trying to normalize grifting the victim card and then literally going to court over the exact same thing that you are doing on wax here. And it's just so weird, because when you see what is trying to be done here at the end of it all, while Drake is laying in this losing soil here with all of these people listening, he is showing that at least for some casual listeners in another reality, Drake wanted to use this song in this entire moment, which he is trying to now bring out his solo album with, to make something that showed any sort of maturity. It could have worked, but with what Drake just did, it didn't do that at all. And now really, as a result of this, with Drake now moving from being known for scary hours to suing hours, and really speaking of this, despite Drake being the first rapper to ever sue over a diss track, well, even with a lawsuit over lyrics in rap beef. Again, when it gets to why this may be the most baffling statement in hip-hop history, Drake is still dissing other people directly on music that is released by his label, which this entire suit is over, and now, of course, with that, well, now, while Drake is seemingly avoiding taking flight on Kendrick as much as he can, because this performative coping and unfazed demeanor, of course, does not want round 2 with Dot or anything near that, well, beyond Kendrick truly showing how much of a coward Drake is and how lame what he is doing really goes down to look like, is the fact that while avoiding dissing Kendrick Lamar, Drake doesn't just try to avoid the king of rap, but he avoids all MCs and anything near the word, and at the same time just ends up using all of his efforts to diss people who literally can't rap, such as LeBron James or DeMar Derozan, and then goes at other artists who the last thing they are known for are their lyrics in such names as Future. And with what is said here, it's honestly not even worth going into all of the different bars and lines that Drake is saying, because at the end of the day, when you really break down what Drake is doing and even just the general premise that he is acting like this is the first time he is speaking about any of this, although this all happened a year ago and we almost got 50 songs worth of material from him. There really is a bigger question about artistic delusion, and to be honest, with Drake trying to push this off and really acting like he is getting another do-over, he doesn't even deserve a full listen from any hip-hop fans, especially with the mid he is still bringing. And when we think about this mid and think about the song that Drake has given us, when we actually get down to the very idea and concept of what Drake is doing here, and even how he rolled out this song, well, from literally going on a stream and yelling in the street and cursing out people, which once again, when we talk about how Drake is moving, being a 40-year-old man screaming in a van to roll out a song is probably not the best look, to of course all of the dressing that this song is lathered in to make it even more of a terrible abomination that is just shameful. Well, really with this record, which is managing to show Drake aging in reverse more than any other track that we have seen, with all of the antics that he is pulling within it and around it, what Drake is really showing us here is that with this entire Iceman record and era that he has been trying to make his own and that he's been trying to hype up as this genre shifting thing, well, if you did have expectations for this thing and waited for a LeBron James diss 1 year after the pop out, and that's what your GOAT is doing. Well, now, while all of this shows that for anybody who has any decent sense of reality, you can just see that there are leaks to this thing, in general now and in the greater sense, I don't think that Drake really thought this thing through when releasing this song that is clearly just so bitter and showing that he is phased and traumatized by this entire beef as a whole, because truly now with what Drake just did and the mistake that he is going to end up making, is ultimately that he just solidified that with every single thing he is going to be doing here from here on out, he will more than ever remind the world that he is the biggest sore loser ever, and that truly he is not just one of the most pathetic rappers out, but one of the most pathetic stars, period. Because to seriously release a song on the 4th of July, which marks the 1 year anniversary since Kendrick Lamar dropped the Not Like Us video, and finally have the courage to address such bad events to him as the Pop Out concert by name, all just to try and take it down here now again over a year later? Well, first off, it's almost like Drake missed the statute of limitations for dissing, but even beyond that, just with the very idea that Drake is going after non-players and non-lyricists for supporting and siding with Kendrick and not taking his side during the beef when everything was going down last year. Well, it's showing that Drake has been broken down so bad, and that's put him into a place where nobody is supporting him, so much to the point for anything that after dropping so many missed songs and so many cringe tracks that were trying to be wannabe hits like Nokia. Well, now after all this failure, Drake is back to the one thing that he can still get relevance from, which is to try and use the beef to get any sort of moment and attention that he can left, and to try and look important on any level. And considering what J. Cole said to support both him and Drake on 7 Minute Drill, and seeing where they are all at now, well, it's truly funny to see how that is all working out for Drake and J. Cole, and now to see Drake really turn into the one-trick pony that he was trying to say Kendrick was, because really, that was the narrative that they were trying to push to try and cope about what Kendrick was doing in any way. Well, it's honestly funny to just see Drake act like somehow this beef is a new thing, and that this is his first time even alluding to any of the things that actually happened. But really now with this, what's so concerning about the petty and delusional meltdown that we have just seen from Drake on one of the most embarrassing songs of the entire year is the ultimate fact now that with what Drake is doing and with what he just put his feet in to solidify what the tone for this album is going to be like. Well, there is no other way to put it. Drake is an absolute loser and a dweeb in hip-hop who has been broken down so bad by the Kendrick Lamar beef that now in this era, which many are calling the Dodd era because of how much in control Kendrick is. Really, for Drake, he is moving in a way where he has absolutely no motion and nobody is interested in anything he is doing other than just witnessing the absolute abomination of a meltdown that he has every time he releases a track, which we are really seeing more than ever here with just how much effort he tried to put into this thing. And really, after all of the conversation throughout this entire beef in hip-hop, both from the J. Cole fans who were saying that nobody would be discussing Kendrick if there was not beef, And of course, then everything with Drake and what his fans have tried to cope with due to the all-time whooping that their guy has taken by saying that Kendrick needs Drake to be relevant, and that is the only reason why he is even in conversation. Well, truly now what we are seeing is that words are powerful, and that something you throw in the air that is absolutely no truth about somebody may turn into the reality for the person you were trying to protect all along. Because now forever, it really looks like no Drake fan will ever be able to say again that Kendrick is the one that is needed the beef, because we are literally sitting right now and talking about a track where Drake is acting like, again, he has absolutely no remembrance that he has dropped 50 tracks over the last year and is acting like all of these things about the beef are suddenly a new and important thing. But of course, as this guy is so creatively bankrupt, it's clear that he is milking these things to try and just create any sort of interesting angle, because that's all he has left. And again, when you just look at the rap sheets and see what Kendrick is doing, which is moving up and playing stadiums, and then now Drake is just talking about the bop out. Again, you tell me who this beef is messed up forever and who really is fried from this thing, because just to see Drake rapping in a state of absolute denial on this track and dissing all of these people all over the same bland and lame production that he has used for the past few records over and over again, overall, all of this just makes for one of the most uninspired listening experiences possible, and truly something that is so lame from Drake no matter how you want to put it. And ultimately now, I say all of this and look at the all-time embarrassment that Drake has created to say that when you see what Drake is doing and how he is designing music in maybe the most pivotal point in his entire career to just diss LeBron James again and guys who can't rap for sliding with Kendrick Lamar, and then of course with the over-the-top presentation Drake brought with this record by riding through the city with a truck where he is playing snippets of this album and this song to try and create this ego and persona all around the Iceman to look tough, I guess? Well, when you see all of these games and gimmicks, I think I speak for everybody when I say I am absolutely over it, and who is this even for? Because really for Drake at this point, in a time where his career is on the line, and who knows, it may be over very soon really with how everything with the label is going. Well, now while it would be near impossible to try and innovate musically and maybe tell some sort of a story from his perspective, he still would gain some respect if he was able to do even anything slightly admirable. Well, really with what we are seeing, Drake is pretty much just sitting around here like an emo person and is wishing the worst on people who at the end of the day just enjoyed a concert, and in hip-hop, to be quite honest, should just be considered like fans and listeners, and not anybody who you should be spending more time dissing over actually people who rapped against you and caused the demise of your career if you wanted to blame somebody, and you should have serious issues with in a Kendrick Lamar who you were still running away from. And again, when you come to terms with the fact that Drake is designing his music for crash outs and crash outs only who can't take any accountability and can't move on from something that happened almost 2 years ago at this point, because it really has been that long, I just have to ask, what are we even doing and what is the point of a song like this? Because it's not like Drake is moving the needle for the beef or his career, so instead of trying to scare people or show that he is making music that is better than ever, Drake really just left us in this weird state where he and his music is coming off as absolutely useless and unessential, because it's just like a gossip diary or a journal from somebody that just keeps on ranting to no end about the same old guys and in the most derivative and lame ways possible. And if this is the type of music that you like and this is what you want to see more of, well then that's really a sentiment of how bad Drake messed up hip-hop, and I got nothing left to say for you. But for everybody else who actually enjoys and appreciates the genre, I think what we are going to see with this song is that the days of Drake's mid working over and over again are over, and if this song continues to make the impact that it already has, which has pretty much been pretty lukewarm for Drake records aside from just people understanding the atrocity of the message he is sending here, well, it does look like this song is going to flop. And if it does, well, for the guy who has always validated himself through numbers and optics, well, even for these pathetic musical rants and crash outs to fail like we are seeing right now, well, that may just be the final thing that Drake's ego needs to just pack it up and quit. And now with all of this said, let me know, what do you think about this absolutely ridiculous Drake song? I'm honestly exhausted from just thinking about it and even having to look at it in any sort of way possible. And that's really why I think there is no critical thinking that even deserves to be had with this record, because it's just so lame when you realize what's going on. And I am honestly just so sick of what he is trying to pull. Now be sure to let me know your thoughts about this record. And if you made it to this point in the video, well, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Make sure that me listening and trying to break down this awful Drake record was worth something, because I can't take it anymore. And now if you made it to this point in the video and want to see on the other side of hip-hop, well, there are lyricists who are trying to get us away from the Drake era with actual talented MCs like JID and Eminem, who both just did some pretty special things on JID's new record. Well, check out the suggested video.